People who I want to appeal to make those little slips. It happens. You have to have a plan, ability to manage your problems effectively. How are you going to do it? Fall off the horse? Jump right back on.
And welcome back, and we are joined by the legendary, in her own right, Miss Jenny, to Bruk it down for the new year. And it's the first one. So happy new year, Miss Jenny.
Happy new year.
How did you celebrate?
Oh, I spent it with my family, with my mom and dad.
Oh, nice.
They're visiting from the States.
And okay, great.
Yeah.
I did the
Good
same.
morning, Belize.
Good morning, everyone. So we have been talking about resolutions all week. We're talking about change, new relationships, old relationships. So Miss Jenny is here to break it down on how we can implement change, how we could stick to those resolutions for the year. I know I had one big resolution, just to try to love more. I don't know if you have any resolutions, Miss Jenny.
I don't believe in resolutions. I don't. But you know, resolutions are, it's funny because everybody's making a resolution. So you feel you need to make a resolution. But there's no thought really that's put into it a lot of times. Now, there are some people who probably write their resolutions down. But then by, I was reading a statistic that only about 15% of people actually, by the end of January, are going to still be doing their resolutions. Yeah. So it's, people don't understand that you can have goals, but change is a process. Yeah. Change doesn't just happen.
It's very true.
It's a whole process you go through. And so I brought in today something called the trans-theoretical model, or stages of change. A lot of times when we look at somebody trying to change a behavior overnight, no. It's a process. Yeah. And so I kind of wanted to talk about that today. So I'm going to ask that they put up the first slide, which is pre-contemplation. And pre-contemplation, just like it says, pre-thought. In this stage, people really aren't thinking that they have a problem. Somebody in their family might have said, "Girl, you need to lose weight," or guess what? You need to get some exercise, have a heart attack, whatever. So somebody would suggest it to the person. But a lot of times they're not buying into it yet, because the first stage, people aren't buying into it. Oh, and by the way, these stages are sequential. You can't jump to maintenance without going through all the other stages. Right. So the first step on the ladder would be pre-contemplation. I am not even aware I have a problem. Other people are aware, but I'm not. So I'm making no effort really to change that.
Well, how do you address that kind of situation though, where I think somewhere deep inside of us there might be maybe a lingering kind of pinch to let us know that maybe there's something that we need to work on, but we feel that it's so minute, so minuscule that it's not important, but for the people around us it's maybe something that we really need to work on. How do you move past that kind of mentality?
Information. You provide lots and lots of information. Say your family is looking and they're thinking, "Oh my gosh, she keeps putting on weight. She keeps getting more and more weight on her, and I'm worried about her getting a heart attack." They're worried. I'm not. I'm happy with my ice cream and I'm happy with everything else. That's called denial, right? I am honestly not caught up into that frenzy that everybody else is in. So if they come to me and they say, "Okay, here what? Let's go to the doctor." The doctor gives me information and he says things like, "Oh, your sugar is borderline diabetic. And your cholesterol is so high you could just fall down with a heart attack." Okay, now I'm getting information. So they give me some pamphlets to read. I'm being informed. So in this pre-contemplation stage, where I'm in denial, you're giving me information for me to become more aware of why there's a problem. So the first stage, I want to make the person more aware. I want to educate them, provide lots of information. Take them to the gym. Let them see that they can walk without getting short of breath. They can't. Look, you can't even go up the stairs without getting short of breath. Give them information, right?
And that information could be how do you avoid the information being too hurtful, especially in situations where it's like maybe it's going back to an ex-boyfriend that you don't need to be with, or it's, you know, an addiction or something like that? How do you provide them with the information and make it come across as being something that you're doing because you love them and because you want to help them?
Provide reading material, take them to, you know, to talk with somebody. You want to provide information in the first stage.
Yeah.
You really want to get them aware there's a problem. By making somebody aware, you're not being mean.
Yeah.
You want them to have information.
Yeah.
For example, a lot of women don't know that they're in an emotionally abusive relationship.
True.
Right?
Very
I
true.
want to make sure that I get as much information as I can and bring it to that woman and say, you know, I would like to read something for you, and leave it with them. Right? Bring as much information as possible because you want that person to become aware on their own. Right?
Yeah, for sure.
Now they're thinking. The second stage is contemplation.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I have all this information and I'm beginning to be a concern that maybe I need to do something about this issue that I have. Right? So now I'm thinking. Not doing anything yet, but I'm thinking. You've gotten my attention.
Yeah.
I'm in this abusive relationship. I've read all this stuff, and yes, my boyfriend does all these things. He checks on me, he follows me, he does all these things. He calls me names, takes my money. Wow, I think I fit into this category. I'm thinking. I'm not prepared to do anything yet, but I am thinking. You got my attention. So I put on here, you know your destination, but even how to get there. You're not ready to go there yet, though.
Yeah.
No.
I was
You're
gonna-
just thinking.
What's a good question to ask yourself when you're thinking? Because I know that sometimes, as women especially, when we think, it's like a snowball into all the worst scenarios. How can you be a proactive thinker where you're not just thinking but you're actually contemplating what is the situation I'm in? What are the questions that you ask yourself?
Okay, so in this stage, generally I am not the one. I'm just thinking, but people need to continue to feed me information. Okay, what I would do with a woman like that is take her to women's department, take her to Haven House. I want her to meet other women who are in the situation but who have escaped and gone into a shelter. I want her to meet people who are there, who can give her live information that she can relate to. Again, I don't want to judge. I don't want to come down on this person because then I shut them down. But I really want to open up the person's eyes. Again, if it's with weight, for example, again, I want to go and have them come in and do a sugar test, do all these tests, because a lot of times when people are walking around, they don't know that they're walking, you know, time bomb, right? So when you take them in and they get all these tests and it's like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
It's reality check.
I want to ask you though, speaking of reality check, in the instances where maybe it's a guy, and you know, a lot of times men, they aren't very open with their feelings, and it's really affecting their relationship, not just the relationship they have with their spouse or their significant other, with their children, or maybe with a coworker or their boss. How do you get them to a stage where they're contemplating, maybe I'm too guarded, maybe I'm too reserved, and I need to think about how I can be more open without being too vulnerable?
The minute you're open, you are vulnerable.
I know.
You know? But in the case of something like that, pretty much what you want to do is you want to give him information. Again, this is the information providing stage. The more information you provide, the more the person is thinking.
And in this case, information would be feedback on maybe how he is with family.
And I would take pictures of how he is. I would show him how other people behave. And so, you know, because a lot of times in our country, our folks are our parents or parents' parents, they were not very demonstrative, right? True. And so a lot of times our men aren't demonstrative. And so you have to teach them how to become demonstrative.
Yeah.
And so you might need to let him know, I'm going to be hugging you a lot and I'm going to be kissing you a lot because I want to teach you how to
I'm
be
gonna be
more
telling you.
intimate. I'll tell you how I feel. And I would love to hear it back from you, but I know it's going to be, you know, a process that you're going to be practicing. But I would like to know that you're going to reciprocate.
Yeah.
Right?
That sounds good.
Because honestly, we can't blame folks in that we're not a very demonstrative
that's
group
our
of people.
culture.
It's cultural.
It's unfortunate.
Yeah, but we have to teach them.
Yeah, and that's why we have Brook It Down with Miss
Right,
Jenny.
and we teach them again. Remember, it doesn't happen overnight.
Yeah,
It's
sure.
a process. Okay, so we go on into stage 3, which is the preparation. So you've given me all this information, and I'm thinking, I need to make some changes in my life.
Yeah.
I saw that I'm pre-diabetic.
Yeah.
One more and I'm going to be diabetic. And they've told me that I'm going to have to take insulin. And once I take insulin, then I'm on that for life.
Yeah.
And at some point, I'm going to have to stick a needle.
Yeah.
I have to stick this needle in me. I'm scared to heck of needles. I really need to get up and do something. So now I'm in the preparation stage. Let's look at weight. Let's look at exercise. I'll go out and I'll buy myself, and people do this annually at New Year's. They'll go out and they'll buy the tennis shoes and buy the little nice outfits to go exercise in, right? And they'll buy the gym membership and use it maybe for a month, and then
It's true.
because they did not go through the entire process.
Yeah,
right.
for sure.
So, for the preparation stage, I want to be doing the things that I need to do to actually begin to do the work. If I am interested in bringing my blood sugar level down, or I'm interested in having a better relationship with my spouse,
Yeah.
I'm going to go out and I'll be getting books, the 5 love languages, and we'll start reading the 5 love languages together in the evening, right? So that's preparation. I'm going to go out and buy the book, right?
When you're looking at preparation though, how do you make sure that when you're preparing to become this new version of yourself, that you don't lose too much of who you are? Because I feel that a lot of people, they're afraid of it because it's change. Everyone is afraid of change and we're always resistant to it. How do we make sure that when we are preparing, we're enough in our comfort zone, but enough outside of our comfort zone? If that
That's
makes
your
sense.
ego talking.
It is.
That's the ego. Listen, if you're in love with someone,
Yeah.
how can you have the ego get in the way and you're holding back,
Right.
right?
Right.
Love is about sharing of yourself unselfishly. I'm not worried, I may get hurt. You may decide that this isn't for you. But I learned from that relationship so
Yeah.
that when I get to the next relationship, if you decide to leave, I'm going to be a much better person. But I don't see how you can talk about being loving a person and still wanting to hold back and not wanting to be vulnerable.
Yeah.
That's the ego.
For sure. For sure.
Okay, and then I would have to look at, okay, so what else is going on with you? What happened to you in your background? Maybe you're not the one for me. If you have that kind of you have to be hiding behind something or holding back.
And I think that it's easy. I think it's not easy, but easier when you're in a relationship. You're invested. You love that person. You maybe want to spend the rest of your life with that person. In the situation where it's a friend, or we're not so invested, where it's easy to lose a friend, I guess, for whatever reason, or it's a colleague at work where you don't need to be as emotionally invested. How do you encourage people to prepare to be more open with those kind of people?
You mean in the workplace?
In the workplace, maybe in your neighborhood, maybe at church.
If it's the sort of fraternal kind of relationships, well, in those cases, you definitely that's when you want to put your boundaries up. You have to have boundaries because these are not people you're going to let into your inner circle. What we're talking about is somebody that you are potentially planning to marry
Yeah.
at some point. that person, you want to let your barriers down, because that's the only way you'll get to know one another.
Yeah.
But in the workplace with the colleagues, you want to set boundaries. you want to set boundaries, right? You have to know how rigid your boundaries need to be, and you will know that. You will know that. I want to keep this more or less where people can understand it, though. So I want to use exercise and weight as an example of the preparation. You go out and you buy the tennis shoe, you get the outfit.
Yeah.
You might even get yourself one of those, something to exercise on.
Machine.
Yeah. So you get all these things. That's the preparation stage. Now you begin to exercise.
Yeah.
Right, that's the action stage. That's stage number 4. The action phase, I'm actually doing it. And I'm getting little successes. My blood sugar goes down, I'm losing weight, I feel good. Now, if you're like me, I self-sabotage.
I think most people.
I've done so good, it's time to have me some chocolate, and have some ice cream. But the thing is that what we know, in the stages of change, those are called slips, lapses,
which are normal.
They happen. Exactly, it's normal.
Yeah.
It's in church you call it backslide, right? The backslide. But what you want to do is catch yourself and get back right away, right? So in the action phase, I'm actually doing it. If I'm able to do it for 6 months without having any slips, that's called maintenance.
Yeah.
Now, maintenance is really important because action doesn't mean anything if you're not going to maintain the behavior. You've got to maintain the behavior. And you do it for 6 months, right? Slips will happen.
Yeah.
The idea is to get back as quickly as possible back into the swing of things.
Now, I want to ask then, the slips are going to happen.
Yeah.
Do you start all the way from number 1?
Hopefully not, if you get right back right away. You see, sometimes what happens, people get discouraged because they had a slip, and so they just give up.
Yeah.
What we don't want you to do is to understand that you don't give up. You've started, you've come this far, pick back up and just get back in and start doing it again.
How do you know then? Because, for instance, you did the preparation, you bought the shoes, you got your gym membership, you're exercising, you have a slip, you maybe gain 5 pounds, you resort back into that feeling of, oh, I'm not good at anything. You
start beating on yourself.
Right, exactly.
Right. And that's when you want to, right away, is to tell yourself, stuff happens.
Yeah.
Stuff happens.
Yeah.
Get back. Get back in the gym, get back walking, get back doing the things you want to do. And you lose that weight. The thing is not to focus on weight. The idea is to focus on the fact that I am making the change.
Yeah.
And you've got to be making the changes for yourself.
Right, definitely.
For yourself. But you don't want a slip to become a relapse, a full-blown relapse.
Exactly.
And so the idea is, once you slip, is to get right back as quickly as possible and continue your workout. Okay, don't beat up on yourself.
Yeah.
And that's the tendency. We want to beat up on ourselves and then we give up. The idea is change is a process.
Right. Do you think that it's okay then to kind of re-strategize?
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe re-prepare?
Absolutely. Go back and go back at the things that remind you. And one of the things that's really important, and I heard Dr. Saunders say this earlier, you've got to have a support system. You've got to have a rah-rah section. You've got to have people that are going to be there to support you. And you let them know what you're doing. I'm on this program. I'm looking at losing weight. I want to get my blood sugar down, my blood pressure down, and I really need your support. Right? I encourage people to come out and walk with you, go exercise with you.
Yeah.
It's so much more fun when it's more than one person doing the exercising.
Yeah.
Right. So get that support system.
Okay.
Engage people to come with you.
And that can be a part of your preparation.
Absolutely.
Getting the support.
Absolutely. And if you fall off, let them know that if I fall off, I don't want you to criticize me. Because, we tend to, you know how we are, right?
Yeah.
You don't drop off it already, and we start beating on the person. Be supportive rather than beat up on me.
Right, for
right? Come up and help and hey, let's get back on track and let's get you back out walking. I'm going to start walking with you, and get people who are going to be supportive. And you have your goals. We've talked about goals ad nauseum. So we know that it's a process. You'll fall off. That's you can expect that you'll fall off. But the idea is to get back on.
Yeah.
Get back out there and get back on track and do the things you need to do.
Right. So
Okay.
get prepared, do the action, maintain
it.
If you slip up, re-strategize.
And jump right back on.
Don't stay in the slump.
Don't. That's a part of the whole process of change.
Okay.
That you will have slips.
Yeah.
How many people are backsliding at church?
True.
Right?
It's very true.
But we don't beat up on them. We
Yeah.
welcome them back in. Same thing here.
I think it's so difficult though because we live in a very
Critical society.
yes. I didn't want to say critical because I feel
Yeah.
like that's kind of being hypocritical, saying that they're but that's true. That's the kind of society we live in, and it's very hard to be the kind of person that you want to be when you know that there's so many voices, outside voices saying things. Oh, you're not articulate enough, or you're not healthy enough, or you're not fast enough, or you're not whatever enough. You're not enough. And when you hear that constantly, you believe it, you take it on, and it's hard. You want to change, but it's hard. It's very difficult. And I think the catalyst it has to be the change in the mentality in society. I don't know.
No, the change has to be me. I need to block out the voices.
Yeah.
I need to find supportive people who are going to be in my corner. I need a rah-rah section, but
Yeah.
I need to select those people.
Yeah.
The change begins with me.
Yeah.
The voices will always be there.
It's true.
And they're always going, they're going to be critical people. And there'll be people who look at you and want you to fail.
Yeah.
Right? And if you're aware of that, then what you're doing, hey, the best revenge is what? Success.
Success. It's
Right.
true.
So you keep with it, you fall off, get back on.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about difficult relationships, and we know that for a lot of people, you have relationships in every aspect of your life, whether it be at work, with your family, friends, your loved ones. When you realize, applying the change aspect, of course, the transitional process, how do you know when you need to implement drastic change in a relationship that you maybe don't want to get rid of for whatever reason? Maybe it's a long-term spouse, or you have kids together. How do you make that transition? Where do you begin?
Let me tell you. I'd like to tell people this. We get into fights with people that we love. Big fights. Fights where we talk about separating and leaving.
Yeah.
Right. One, if you're in a relationship where you love the person, quit threatening about leaving.
Yeah.
Then it's so demeaning and
It is.
dehumanizing. Right? Two, if you love this person, then you need to actually be thinking about, okay, how do we get here? And what do I need to do to help to alleviate it?
Yeah.
Right? If I love this person, then sometimes I need to surrender. You know what surrender is? Do you?
I do. in my head, surrendering is letting down your guard, being as open as possible, putting down your ego, putting down
Yeah.
who you are
Yeah.
because you love that person.
Yeah. And sometimes it's really, really hard to do.
It's extremely hard to do.
It's hard to do. But if you say you love the person, right? If you love the person, sometimes that's what you need to do. And what you're doing, you're teaching this person, I saw that.
Running out of time so quickly.
You're teaching the person
Yeah.
how to do that too. Because we model for people what we want them to be in their lives. And so you have to model surrender. Sometimes when you fought and fought and fought and fought, you just need to say, okay, let's work this out. Let's figure out how to work this out. And put the ego aside, because that's the ego.
Do you feel that there's a limit though to how often your ego needs to be put down? Or especially if there is an imbalance in who's always putting down their egos?
Nothing is always.
Oh,
There's got to be some point in there where the person did something really good. Okay, so and those are killers, never and always killers. They're killer words.
Okay.
All right. I think it's so important that in relationships we learn to forgive. We have to learn to surrender. We need to learn to forgive. And as we model it, sometimes they don't get it the first time. Remember change, stages of change?
Yeah.
They don't get it the first time. They'll get it the second time. They don't get it the 20th time.
yeah.
But the point is you are modeling a new behavior
Yeah.
for this person to learn. And if you love each other, at some point it's going to kick in. It's going to kick in. But I can hear the voices out there going, no way, I'm not going to be the one to give in. Somebody's got to be magnanimous if you are in a relationship, right? And decide that, okay, today I'm not going to engage you in a fight.
Yeah.
You do not have to, you don't have to go to every party you're invited to.
Yeah.
You don't have to go to every fight you're invited to.
Yeah.
You can decide, I'm not going to fight with you.
Yeah.
I'm taking a time out.
Yeah.
When you feel up to it, we'll talk about it. But right now, I'm going to go.
I can tell you that's really true because I'm in a long distance relationship. So my boyfriend lives in Barbados. And it's very difficult because the smallest things can cause the biggest arguments. And I always say to him, Dan, we don't need to argue about this. Like, this is not going to help the situation right now. And it's really, I'm really grateful for the type of man that he is, because he's really open to that. He's really open to putting down his ego, putting down his weapons, and not showing up to fights.
Right.
And I think that for a lot of people, though, they don't have partners like that, who they might be thinking, but how long should I wait for him, or how long should I wait for her to be the person that's going to put down their weapons, put down their egos? How do you know when to exit and when to stay?
You'll know. You will know. The point is that I think a lot of times in relationships, we're always we're weighing, we're measuring.
Yeah.
Am I getting my
Right.
Am I getting mine?
Yeah.
I had to give, but am I getting mine?
Yeah.
And in relationships, you can't have that. If you say you love somebody, you're giving, and you're giving all the way. And sometimes that means you have to be magnanimous and be the one that says, okay, I give up, I surrender. Okay, let's not fight about this. It doesn't worth. It's not worth it.
Miss Jenny, this has been my first Bruk It Down with Miss Jenny, but so good. I say the producer did it tell me when we run out of time. But you have any last words that you want to share about change? And
I'm just wanting to say that this week everybody talked about the goals.
Yeah.
And we just want people to remember, you have to be motivated to make the change. And change is a process. It takes time. So you have to get in there, inform people. If you see there's a problem, start informing. Your long-term relationship, start pointing things out to him, give him information so that he understands where you're coming from. Inform. So he then begins to listen. He starts thinking about it.
yeah,
Right? Then he starts making changes.
Yeah.
Okay, process.
it's a process. Change is a process. Thank you so much, Miss Jenny. And we are going to go to a commercial break. And when we come back, we're going to be joined by Erlin Hutchinson to talk to us about his new song, Vicky. So don't go anywhere.
These are the people who I want to appeal to. Make those little slips. It happens. You have to have a plan, ability to manage your problems effectively. How are you going to do it? Fall off the horse? Jump right back on.